we're all human and we're all yearning something better. We all have that human instinct for something better. And I think if we're not growing, anything that was born to grow, right? So no matter what class you ended up in, to feel complete and to feel fulfilled, you need to grow.
Welcome back, investor, to another episode of the Passive Income Adventures. We have Travis Smith with us today. I just finished his interview and I have really been enjoying getting to know him over the last couple of years. Our club uses TribeVest exclusively to administer all of the legal needs. Basically, when we find a deal that we like to invest in, we form an LLC, have to open a bank account or a business together, and then we take our capital and we go and invest it into a project as joint venture partners. And TribeVest has really been the gateway for us to be able to make the reality for so many of our club members to do some of their first commercial deals or their largest commercial deals, because it's a way that we can all pool our resources, not only financially, but also our skills and talents to be able to go out and do something that really has a huge barrier of entry, steep learning curve to do on our own. And so when we get some experience, we have this natural desire that we want to give back and help other people, because the more people we can help themselves, the more people they'll go out and they'll help for people who can't help themselves. And I feel like Travis really has embodied that in TribeVest, because it talks about the power of the network and the power of joining forces in order to accomplish some really cool things. And so you'll hear that come through as Travis talks, that he basically started this company at 40 because he felt so strongly about the mission and the message that he was sending that he just had to share it. Getting out of his full-time job in order to become a business owner, it's no small thing. There's a reason that most of us don't do it. It's incredibly time-consuming, stressful, and just a ultimate type of extreme ownership where you have extreme accountability for what happens to you and also to your staff. And so you can't really do that without a really powerful mission-driven purpose. And I know that Travis's story has really helped us to focus in on what we're doing on the Investing Club. And he's been able to take our feedback and the feedback from other users to start creating even more features that we can use. And so I'm super excited about the latest feature that they are releasing currently. And I know that you're going to be excited about it too if you are interested at all in commercial real estate and maybe even raising some capital. I know there are a lot of legal hurdles and regulatory hurdles, and it can be very expensive. And so Travis is basically democratizing that for the average capital raiser who doesn't want to have a huge business. They're just looking to do it with their friends and family or a kind of side hustle. We've been looking into that for years and haven't really found any great solutions. And finally, TribeVest has come out with something that our club is very excited to use. So this episode has a lot of technical stuff in it for you to be able to learn how to basically start your own tribe, investing in real estate or anything else that you want to invest in, startups, whatever it is, TribeVest can help, but also being able to legally raise a little bit of capital, which so far has been so cost prohibitive that you can't just raise a little bit of capital. You have to raise a lot of capital. And so I'm really looking forward to trying out this new feature and learning more about TribeVest, what they offer us to just your average Main Street investor. So have a listen and I'll see you around at the end. All right, we're live with Travis Smith. He's the founder and CEO of TribeVest, a website that I absolutely adore, and it's what powers our investing club. And so if you've been thinking about investing with us, Travis is the guy who built the software that makes our club go around. So thank you so much for coming, Travis. I'm really excited to talk to you about your entrepreneurial journey and how you're helping so many people achieve their passive income dreams.
Emma, always a pleasure. Been looking forward to this interview. Thanks so much for having me. You're the best.
So I want you to just tell us about yourself. I want you to just tell us what your history is, your superhero origin story, how you started out, your investing background, your entrepreneurial background, and then how you ended up where you are now with TribeVest. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit more about your future and where you're headed from here.
Yes, thank you, Emma. Yeah, again, Travis Smith, founder and CEO of TribeVest. If I go all the way back to college, I graduated in finance from the Ohio State University and was recruited and trained by Morgan Stanley in New York City. So I became a investment advisor. And really my goal there was to help myself and my family learn how to build wealth. That was super intriguing to me, something that I thought our family needed. And then what an awesome career to help others find their financial freedom and help them build wealth too. Emma, it didn't take me long to realize that being on Wall Street and helping people invest in the traditional stock market wasn't necessarily the best way to help people build wealth.
Somehow
You
I
know,
knew
really,
that's
I
where the
was,
story was going.
you bet. Yeah, I was selling a lot of investment products, and a lot of them were great. A lot of them were great, but that's as someone early in their financial advising career, it was a lot about selling products. And I say I was saved by software. So I ended up leaving the industry, working at a fintech software startup in Cleveland, Ohio, a company called Highland Software on Base. And I was employee number 36. And now they're a multi billion-dollar software enterprise company. But it was really neat to get involved early, get equity in a company, and to be able to see that equity grow. And so that was a real blessing, seeing new ways to build wealth other than just buying high and selling low. And then stayed in that career for a long time in the enterprise software, really fintech space. In 2018, I was at my destination job, a career. I was working for a dream company that I'd always wanted to work for called Jack Henry and Associates, which is a multi-billion-dollar fintech that over 3,000 small and medium-sized banks run on their core software. And I was heading up their strategic alliances and enterprise payments. So really awesome place, but I had this thing that was just telling me I needed to leave, make the leap, and start a company. And that was TribeVest. TribeVest was the company that we're here talking about. And so that's what I did. I really became a full blown Silicon Valley startup founder at the age of 40. And you always think it's a young man's or young girl's job game,
Mm-hmm.
but it was the right time for me. And it's funny, I've never worked harder, I've never had more pressure, but I've never been more fulfilled, never been more happy. Anyway, it's just a great place for me to be.
So, where did the idea for TribeVest come from? Because I know that a lot of the most successful founders that I could eat, drink founders, I'm fascinated with startups. My husband's from a startup background. He did IT for some data science startups and a medical databasing startup. And I interned there when I was in business school. I love meeting the founders and just sit and pick their brains all day. And my husband's, yeah, I got to go home. Like it's getting late. And I'm like, okay, I'll get a ride home with his wife or something. And then just realizing how difficult it is, like what a grind it is and how risky it is. And that's kind of what led me to real estate investing and shying away from entrepreneurship and shying away from a business because I love that stuff. But at the same time, it's a lot of work. So here you are, you're working in a career, working for your dream job, and you have an idea for this company. So first of all, where did that idea come from? And what was it about the idea that prompted you to trade a 40-hour a week job for an 80-hour a week job?
Right. And remember, like my destination job, right? You have to go back 15 years to 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So this was in parallel to my professional career. My brothers and I were going on a fishing trip we couldn't afford. My dad had said, we need to go on this trip to Patagonia with my four brothers. And it was, of course, not good timing. And it sounds terrible, but we didn't know if we really should do it. We wanted to do it, but we didn't have a lot of enthusiasm about it, but we did it because that's what we do. We show up. And thank goodness we did, because by getting on that plane and spending that time in beautiful Patagonia, Chile on the rivers just opened our minds. We had all recently read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We were just coming off a big disappointment that was a big eye
Mm-hmm.
opener for us. my dad and his sisters had owned a vacation home in Cape Cod that brought our family together every summer, and they had to sell it. And it was time for our next generation, me and my brothers, to step up and buy it. But we weren't in a position to do so because you needed lump sums of capital. And that hurt. Oh man, that stung. We thought we were doing it, right? We thought we had good jobs, we had good incomes, our 401ks. Like, it's our turn to buy this awesome asset and something that was so important to us. And there we couldn't do it. And that was a big aha. And on this fishing trip, we talked about that. We like, how is this? What's going on? And we realized that the path we were on was never going to lead to financial freedom, at least the one that we had ambition for. And so we said, let's get into real estate. Everybody we know that's super successful, living their best life,
True.
was owned a business or was in real estate or both. And we all said, well, yeah, but it's hard to break into real estate. Obviously, we tried to just do it and we couldn't do it. And that's when we came up with the idea of forming our family business, an LLC, opening up a business bank account. And to get started, we would each put in $500 each. And that $500 between the four of us was $2,000 a month. This was a stretch for us, Emma. You have to remember. But thank goodness we did, because that $2,000 a month turned into $24,000 a year. And by the end of the year, we did our first $25,000 investment into a real estate syndication, a physician's office in Pasadena, California.
Okay.
And then after that first one, we just kept reinvesting the cash flow. We kept putting our $500 in, and then we did our next deal. We did our next deal. And over the time, we realized just how powerful this model was, and it changed our lives. And without forming this investor group, we would have never secured the life that we've secured today. We really unlocked a future we could have not achieved on our own.
There's so much in there you just said that I want to unpack a couple of things. So many of us find ourselves in the same position. I was telling somebody recently, one of my business partners had a really rough upbringing and the wrong side of town, affordable housing vouchers and foster care, rehab. Just, it was a really difficult upbringing. And for her, it's been a source of strength for her. And when we were talking, I was like, I was just raised in a middle class white neighborhood. Like, I don't have any stories like that. But at the same time, I feel like there are more people out there that can relate to good being the enemy of great. You guys were doing well. You guys were doing a good job. And you thought you were doing great. But then when it came time to put that to the test, you realize, oh, we're not so great. We're in the finance industry and we're not so great. We're giving advice to clients on how to build wealth, and we're not wealthy. And so having that realization, that's powerful. And not just having the realization, but actually having the bravery to pivot after you had that realization, and then taking that middle class background and saying, I want more, I want better. I feel like a lot of us struggle with, like, what gives us the right to want better? So have you ever found that?
Yes, this is a great topic, great question, so insightful. And I think, look, we're all human and we're all yearning something better. We all have that human instinct for something better. And I think if we're not growing, anything that was born to grow, right? So no matter what class you ended up in, to feel complete and to feel fulfilled, you need to grow. And I think it's more obvious when someone grows up in a really tough environment, and that's even more motivation and such an awesome opportunity and more fulfillment. And I think maybe some of the times us in the middle class that grew up comfortable, very comfortable, should we feel satisfied with that? Should we feel content? And I'll just say it resoundingly, no. We have to grow. And that was that aha that we had. And it was a really big moment for us because we needed to get over the no, we're not doing okay. And if we really want to be able to make an impact on the next generation, if we really want to better our lives, we have an obligation to those that came ahead of us to do better. So it really did take this mindset that we needed to have, and it forced us to pivot. It forced us to take action. I love that question, though, Emma.
I had this lesson taught to me by probably one of the wealthiest families I've ever come in contact with. He was raised by I can't even give too many details because people would know who it is. Basically, being raised in a very wealthy family. And I asked him what that was like. And he said, I never wasted time with the mindset stuff that you middle class people seem to struggle with. And he didn't phrase it like that, but that was basically what he was saying. He's like, I never wondered if I deserved it. I never wondered if I could do it. I never wondered if it would actually happen. I had seen my family and their friends have success beyond the 1%. And I knew that it was possible. He got started much, much, much younger than we did because he had that upbringing of just knowing that this is possible. And I feel like I spent a lot of time treading water, wondering if there was something better out there, if it was worth the extra effort, if we could do it, if I deserved it, and was I greedy for wanting it? And so I think that a lot of us have to grapple with those questions. And after you grappled with that question, you went to the next brilliant thing that you did and you lived below your means. So can you tell us a little bit about what that sacrifice was like when you realized I'm actually not doing as well financially as I'd like, but let me tighten the belt even more and put money aside to invest?
Right. Yeah. It was that was that moment. And it seemed like a small price to pay because our eyes had been opened to how we do better our lives. It wasn't easy, but we had to adjust. And I would have to have that same moment and challenge when it came to launching TribeVest too. That's another kind of moment of bumping up against my self-limiting beliefs and a moment of truth and saying, can I? Should I? Do I deserve to? And I think you hit on something there. So anyway, the story goes, my brothers and I did this, and over time we just realized how powerful this strategy of pulling capital and doing things together really was. And that was when I was, doing well in my career. This was 2018. And I just knew the world needed TribeVest. And what was it going to take for me to leave my 40-hour job making more money than I've ever dreamed of and to take this leap? And again, it was this moment of truth and it was a leap. But what I did is what I called is burning the boats slowly.
Yeah.
Burn the boats, but you don't have to jump all at once and at the same time. I think that's a big misnomer out there. I think what people find is the best entrepreneurs are the ones that are very systematic in their risk
Yes.
taking.
Yes.
And that's what I did. I very slowly burned the boats. I started telling people that I was going to go build a multi-billion-dollar software company, and I was going to leave my company and to do this. And I told the people that I respected in the community. And so now I was on the hook. I
Yeah.
had to do it, right? I traded in my Acura MDX for my mother-in-law's Honda Accord and started to think about my 10-year-old Honda Accord and started to think about how I could afford to finance this venture and et cetera, et cetera. And eventually left my company and started TribeVest with just the certainty that the world needed it and it was up to me to bring it to the world.
Now, we've definitely experienced the need for TribeVest in our business. I don't think that our club would exist in the same way that it does now if it weren't for TribeVest. And we're not even using it in like the intended usage or we're not exactly your ideal customer. But I think what really showed me that we were on the right track with TribeVest was we had been searching for something like our club. We couldn't find it. And so we knew we had to go build it because I wouldn't build it. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm more of an investor. I want my money working. But this was like a passion project for me. And we just couldn't find any way to administer it. I knew it was going to be a lot of work. And that was one of the reasons I was shying away from building it. And then people kept saying, have you heard of TribeVest? Have you heard of TribeVest? No. So I go check it out. And after we did our first deal on TribeVest, it was let's give it a try, right? Let's see how it works for us because we're not exactly using it the way that it was intended. Let's see if we can tweak it and make it fit our needs. And I was doing something. I think I was putting up a vote for our group to vote on a motion. And my brother-in-law was at his house and he's sitting next to me on the sofa and looking over my shoulder on my laptop. And he's an attorney. And he goes, "What is this?" I said, "Oh, this is a website that we use because we have a club and we form an LLC and we put our money in and they have a bank account for that." And he's like, took my laptop away from me. He said, "This is amazing. I have been looking for something like corporate governance to help with all of these details." He goes, "This eats up way too much of my time as an attorney." And he starts clicking through it. I'm showing him all around. And he just said, "My brother and I actually used to talk about building something that would have some sort of corporate governance or legal governance types of places to sort documents and votes and all that." And he said, "Look, somebody went out there and built it." And he was so impressed by it that when finally he gave me my laptop back and I got to get on with my business, I thought this really is doing pretty much everything that we need it to do. And since then, let's jump up to the present day. You've released some new features recently that you say will be even more helpful to groups like ours. So can you tell us a little bit about what TribeVest is cooking up or what it's just released?
Well, we just keep adding and listening to our customers. And thank you for sharing that story. That is so awesome. It always is amazing to me how many attorneys are using TribeVest. And you think about it, they're always the one getting pulled into groups.
Yep.
And they're probably pretty reluctant
Yeah.
because they're going to end up doing a lot of this work. And when they find TribeVest, they're like, this is great. I can be in the group and I don't have to be the one that's taking care of all the compliance and the governance and all those things. So that was just a really neat story. What's new? We just continue to improve the user experience. Of course, it's been a long time coming, but we're excited about a mobile app coming before the end of the year. Stay tuned on that. But I think we're growing with our customers, meaning they're on their wealth journey. And a lot of times it's like, well, what's next? And so that's a little bit of what our roadmap looks like. You think about it, we built that infrastructure, that collaborative and banking infrastructure, the governing infrastructure that you talked about. And yes, no surprise, Emma, you've kind of made it your own, which we love. But that's a little bit of the idea. The idea is like we provide the platform, you bring the application. So we built a very broad platform that could be leveraged in all sorts of ways. And now what's ahead? Well, one of the niches that we've seen out here is people investing into as a limited partner into real estate syndications. Hey, to get into this real estate syndication, it's 100,000, it's 200,000 to get in. I don't want to write a $200,000 check. Could we come together and get in on this deal that's very exciting? So that's become a really neat application for us. And when it's super narrow like that, we can actually offer more services, right? When it's broad, it's hard to offer things at scale. But when we're offering really a narrow service on a narrow application, we can offer really cool services. So in that case, we can actually offer distributions for the group, right? So think about if you're a limited partner and you're investing in a syndication, you're likely getting distributions depending on the deal, right? So now that one distribution coming to the tribe entity needs to be distributed out to the members. And we can offer that service in this very, again, narrow niche. Same thing with taxes. Syndication sends out 1K1. Well, TribeVest included in that service can offer the creation and distribution to all the partners in that. We call that the Pro Tribe, and it's $150 per member per year. priced a little differently,
Mm-hmm.
but really, a really neat niche. So that's one. I'll
Well,
just take a breath and take a drink there.
I'll fill your breath right there real quick that my accountant charges us $75 per K1. And that doesn't include anything else, just each K1 that he puts out is $75. So when we looked at your pricing for that, what we were getting for that versus what we were getting from our accountant, it actually ended up being cheaper because you had a couple of services in there that we were paying for individually. And so we ended up going with that. I remember talking to somebody on one of our clubs and she was preparing some tax documents and she was struggling with some technical issue of it. And I said, did you hear that TribeVest helps you with your accounting? No, and she's like, yeah, I've actually been working with the TribeVest accountant, and it's been great. She's just put me on this homework assignment of I had to go track something down, and I just thought, oh yeah, that's right. I remember that we had opted into that because after we did the cost benefit analysis, it actually ended up being a better deal to go with yours, and it's so much more integrated and easier, less steps, so it's saving us a lot of time as well. So we do really like that feature. And then you had mentioned, I might be using the wrong word here. You correct me if I'm wrong, but you're releasing some sort of like fund of fund capability.
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
So, you think about that product I just mentioned that Pro Tribe, which is really all about the members of this tribe wanting to be limited partners into a syndication.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's to get over a minimum threshold, and sometimes that's to get into maybe a threshold where you get better terms,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in that application, everybody enjoys the better terms depending on their ownership in that tribe. There's always a champion, as you know, you've played that role before. And again, just following our customers on their journey. And there's a lot of work. We were joking in the green room before this that, hey, passive investing into syndications, yes, it is passive income once you've invested and done that. But leading up to the investment, it's anything but passive. You need to get to know the sponsor. You've got to do your due diligence on the deal. You've got to, join these different communities to help you learn how to do this. So a lot of these passive investors have put a lot of work into this and have taken it very seriously. And then they have a network of their friends and family that see them being successful investing in real estate. And they're saying, hey, can you bring me along with you? And then at the same time, that investor that's been out in front, we say they've had the gift of going first, right? They've had the gift of going first. And so how do you share that gift with the people you care about, and you have that obligation to them? But again, it's, we've made it easier to group invest.
Mm-hmm.
It's not done for you. There's still some work that needs to be done, and it does require leadership. And so I think a lot of these people that want to share their gift of going first with their network, they're hesitant to take on the responsibility of a tribe, right? And so what we've come to market with is a single purpose vehicle, an SPV is maybe what you've heard out there. And it's an SPV fund, and it's a super simple, narrow, single purpose vehicle that is a security. And they can legally and lawfully and appropriately compensate themselves through a management fee, for example.
Yep.
So this has always been missing out in the marketplace, because normally to put together a fund where you've got to create the PPM, which you have to do.
Yep.
You have to do your subscription docs, your OA. You have to
$15,000
file
later.
15,000 just to get started. So what we've done is we've created this in a very narrow way, and we're only doing it through certain syndicators, because that's how we can do this in a super streamlined, inexpensive way. We really leverage the hundreds of thousands of dollars of attorney work they've done creating their PPM to create their syndication, right? And we marry their PPM to that single purpose vehicles fund of funds, PPM.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, we've created this really exciting thing, and we're at the early stages of it, but it's a game changer. We think we're going to really create people. People could build a business doing this, or
Yeah.
at least an income stream to add to their passive income.
It's a great way for people who are wanting to raise capital for a deal, but the barriers to entry to raising capital are high because you're dealing with securities. And just for our listener, I'm just going to say a security is something where you put money into something, but you don't put any work into it. So, some sort of a debt promissory note would be a security. Any type of stock purchase is a security. And these are highly regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. And raising capital for any kind of compensation is illegal unless you have a license or you have a fund that's been filed with the SEC so that they know what you're up to. And it's to protect investors. And so those barriers to starting that fund or to getting and keeping that license are very high. And so a lot of people want to go raise capital, but they just want to do it as a little more like a part-time thing. They've got a couple friends and
Sure,
family, and there's a
100%.
lot yeah, a lot of illegal capital raising going on out there. And when I first started to learn about this field, I was definitely scared away from it to do it in a part time or almost a side hustle. I felt like I had to be full time to justify all the expenses and to justify all of the regulatory risk that I was taking on. And so I remember I don't know, it was probably a year and a half ago. We'd done our first couple of deals with the tribe, and you called me on the phone. And I was like, you had talked to our club in our meetup, and we'd like come speaker to our meetup. But you gave me a call and you said, hey, I wanted to talk to you about the way that you're using TribeVest and see how we can serve your community better. And like I told you, I love just geeking out with founders and just talking all about it. I was so excited. I was like, oh man, okay, I have this feature list that I want to do. And I don't know how long we talked, but I just had such a good time feeling like I could influence and drive the software that we were depending on so much to run our club. And I feel like that's really been a hallmark of what you've been doing. Because even back then, I said, I need an SPV. I remember telling your assistant after the fact, she called to follow up. And I said, we need something where we can go raise capital as a side hustle. And lo and behold, here it is. We haven't used it yet. I'm actually really excited to try this out because I feel like the club is a joint venture club and we really need to be contributing legitimate work to any deal that we go into just so that we're satisfying the regulations of who's in a general partnership. But the SPV gives us so much more freedom to go out and raise money and not have to be involved in the management of the deal. And it will open up so many more doors for a wider group of people, those who want to be involved and those who just want to be capital raisers. And so I'm super excited to test drive this one on our next club deal.
I remember that conversation so well, and I was loving it and geeking out too. And absolutely, your influence and feedback have helped get us to where we are today. So, again, thanks for always being out there, pushing these boundaries, and sharing your story. It's just such a powerful thing for me, for our company. We're learning and benefiting from it, but the broader market and community just really appreciates all you do to help inform and share your journey. We're learning a ton.
And I know that that was not a unique experience. You probably called and talked to lots and lots of your different users and got feedback. And so that showed me that how involved you are in what you're doing, how much you care about it, and how you're willing to spend the time doing these interviews to really build a product that we like. And with development, I think what often we see is a huge waterfall of we're going to build this thing, and then you get to the end and nobody wants it, nobody needs it, nobody uses it. And so I really like the way that you have developed this, where you got your broad base product out there and made it useful. And then you're continuing to get user feedback to make it more and more useful to fit a variety of people, but also at the same time specializing. It's kind of this unique blend of serving more people and offering more specialty options. So thank you for just creating something that is usable and affordable and allows many more people to jump into this field to really create wealth without having to change careers and without having to have such huge barriers of entries and startup costs. It's one of those things where I'm like, I know there must be something out there. And in fact, somebody told me once when I told them we were using TribeVest to administrate our club, she said, oh, have you tried such and such company? That might be actually more in line with what you're doing. And they sent me to the website and they were out of business.
Yes.
because they weren't any cheaper than my attorney. I'm like, I can get an SPV for my attorney for this that's much more custom. And this company was basically offering. I was just like, oh, well, this. I mean, I don't think it
Right.
would have been a good fit anyway, and no wonder they went out of business. And so I'm even doubly more excited that you have this new feature because I think that it allows us, like I said, to broaden what we're working on and the kind of opportunities we can bring to our club members.
That's awesome. So awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing. And yeah, again, a little bit of our secret of how we're able to do this in a streamlined way. One, we've been building that platform and a lot of these core back office services for so long, right? And it's like breaking sticks for us. So when we go out to the market, that we've solved the hard part. We've solved the hard part. And we have to kind of remind ourselves of that because, well, we've worked so hard at making it easy and turnkey. But when we go out to the market and we hear where the real value is, we're like, oh, that's what the market misses. That's where the gap is. We already have that. So how can we fill in these other things so that we can create a affordable, turnkey, fast, simple, safe way for people to launch their part-time capital raising careers?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and so many people need that, especially right now. I think capital is getting more and more difficult to raise because anytime there's any kind of a downturn or a correction, it makes investors very nervous. And so I think that it's going to take a little bit more of an army of small capital raisers to get these needs met. And I know a lot of people who know that they're raising capital illegally, but they're kind of in gray area and hoping to fly in under the radar. And I just have never felt comfortable with that. First of all, I'm the public face of our company, and what I say is recorded. So I want to make sure that I keep my nose very, very clean. And I also feel like I've got a family and I got a kids and I'm doing what I'm doing for them. I'm certainly not going to put that at risk so that I can go raise a couple $100,000. And so solutions, like you said, that are safe and affordable, they just haven't really existed in the space before. But I think when the rules changed that we can advertise syndications now, many, many more people have become aware of it. More average type of, not Wall Street, more Main Street investors, and you're really serving that niche.
100%. 100%. And that's exactly why we're doing it. And it's really exciting when you think about how big of an opportunity this is for TribeVest. And of course, it always comes back to us. How many people can we impact out in the world? And just what drives us is really putting a dent in the universe. That's why we're doing this. Of course, we like that we're building value for our company and our shareholders too. But how cool is it that we can really positively impact our customers and helping them impact the next generation?
Yeah, and I know when you had a fundraising round, a bunch of our club members invested in one of your seed rounds, and I thought, okay, that really shows me how valuable our club members view this product. That not only are we using it, and not getting a discount, like we're paying for it, like we value it enough that we're using it, and then to say, like, I really like what they're doing here. I'd like to invest in this company. So that really speaks volumes about when your clients become your investors.
That was so cool. Yes, that was really a neat thing. We did a round, and it was amazing how many customers came in. And we think that you put your money where your mouth is, or there's no BS when it comes to money kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? It's one thing to hear, oh, we love it. It's another thing to see them put their capital into our company and believe in what we're doing. Yeah, so cool. Emma, it's been really awesome to get to know you and your group. You guys have really been influential in our journey.
Oh, that's good to hear because we're selfishly asking for the features that we want. One of the
Keep it coming.
Yeah, one of the
Keep
tech
it coming.
companies that I contracted for, they embedded software developers into open source projects because people were using these open source projects in their business, but they couldn't influence the direction unless they were actually volunteering for the project. And sometimes the software would change directions or even shut down, and then this business was left without it. And so he had this idea that if he paid developers to go and volunteer for these projects, that companies would pay those those developers so they could control the direction of the project. And I feel like that's exactly what we've been trying to do. It's like, hey, we're using this and we like it. And if we can have an ear to get features and functionality in there that's beneficial for us, I think it's really valuable on both ends. And sometimes I feel like maybe we're too niche. Maybe this isn't going to be worth it in the larger term. But if you're hearing it enough from multiple customers, you're like, maybe there's something to this. So that's how you develop something that people want, is what are people using and how are they using it? So I appreciate you putting in 80-hour weeks for our benefit. And I love how starting out as a financial advisor and recognizing that's not the way to build true wealth, finding that in real estate and in other types of investments, and getting into that, and then having that passion to go out and then share that with other people. And I know you're really into the Main Street investor movement. Can you tell us a little bit more about your involvement in just helping like average Joes build wealth in a way that they can confidently go out there and do that? Kind of go back to what we were talking about at the beginning. Like, can I do it? Was it risky? The barrier to entry are too high and all of that, but you're out there basically spreading the gospel of the Main Street investor.
Well, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I believe that. And so if sharing my story is inspiring or unlocks somebody's potential, man, like that's just, I get so much energy from that. So I don't know. It's also selfish of me because I do get so much from listening to other people's stories, helping them think through how to change their lives, to take a step in a new direction. And yeah, it's great. There's a number of great communities out there that we're active in. Left Field Investors is one that really is aligned with helping people understand how to invest into the private markets. Wealth Without Wall Street is another great one. They come together and they go out and test different income streams, and then they share it with their community in terms of what they learned and how it went. And again, I just think that idea of sharing a journey is what people really need to hear. And so I feel a commitment to that and an obligation to do it. I think about how do I, you'll hear me talk and I'll say, I'm in the early stages of building a multi-billion-dollar business.
Yeah.
So how can I say that? That sounds, I don't know. First of all, the old me doesn't believe that the new me would ever say that.
Yeah.
But here I am saying it. And you know what it was? I had the opportunity to meet Pete Kite. And Pete Kite is the founder and CEO of a company called Check Free. Do you remember Check Free at all? Remember that?
With the green check mark?
The green check mark. And this was how you could pay your bills online for the first time. Right?
I'm old.
And ultimately, this was in the 90s. And then in early, middle 2000s, I think I consider him the godfather of fintech. In the middle to late 2000s, really good timing if you think about it. It was 2007. He did a $4.5 billion exit to Fiserv, and he basically built the rails of what is our bill pay that we experience today on all the banking platforms. But I met him, and it turned out he started that business in his grandma's basement in Worthington, Ohio, about 7 miles from where I sit right now. And he came back and he talked, and here's this founder that created a $1 billion company, exited, and then I reached out to him and he took my call. And then he met with me a month later. He met with me a month later. And I'm like, why is this billionaire meeting with me? And he was excited to let me know that I was just like him, and that all the doubts going through my mind he had those too, and that he was proof that I could build a $1 billion business. So I think just the more we can be out there kind of sharing our story is that big unlock. And I think if we think about like the difference between growing up in a really rough neighborhood or whatever it is, it's really the lack of mentors. It's that lack of people that that aren't fictitious. And before I met Pete, anybody that had was a founder of $1 billion business, they were like fictitious to me.
Yeah. But notice,
So and then it took me a minute to actually meet somebody in person that looked me in the eye and took the time to talk to me before I was like, oh, this is a thing.
yeah, because we're
Like
always trying to
I
level up with who we're hanging out with. We're always saying that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room and all this. And getting into a room with people smarter than you are and leveling up is a huge thing. But then you're wondering the opposite when a billionaire wants to hang out with you. You're like, why does a billionaire want to hang out with me? A billionaire should be wanting to level up. And at a certain point, people need to survive. Then they need to start thriving. And as soon as they start getting into that thrive, they're immediately thinking about serving and giving back. And it's just human nature. Most people on the planet are going to react that way when they get a little bit of excess. They're going to think, okay, how can I serve? How can I give back? And so sometimes we don't realize that those billionaires or those successful people want to serve. And that might be why they're hanging out with people like us. But how much they know if we can get the fire lit, then we will go out and serve people and they can multiply or amplify that effect by spending time with people who they feel like are going to go and do something cool and then in turn serve other people. So I believe that if we understand that about human nature, then it makes more sense why the billionaire wants to hang out with us and we can take advantage of that mentor and then we can go out and serve people who don't have those mentors and give them access because, like you said, it's about the network. It's about believing and seeing people who have done it. And then that drive, that natural human drive to give back once we've gotten past the survive and thrive stage of our own lives.
Well said. Well said. Pay it forward, right? Pay it forward, and he knows that how he helped me. I'm going to just help as many people as I can too. And it is, and they want to help. They get a lot out of it. So
Mm-hmm.
well said. Yep.
Yeah, I got so excited about what you were saying that I interrupted you like 3 times. I'm like, no, wait. Because I think this is
Perfect.
where I am right now, where I'm kind of in the survive and thrive, and I'm starting to think like, okay, how can we get more streams of income so we can help more people? Because we've kind of helped ourselves at this point, but it's not good enough. We're not living well. We're thinking like, how can we invest in more things and increase our streams of income so that we can bless our children more, bless our family more, and bless our communities more. And it's something that constantly that I'm thinking about how to get to that point because some of the richest people I know are the ones who just sit there and just listen to me and they say, what can I do for you? I want to be that person.
Right. No doubt.
It's a
We
great,
all hope to be that lucky.
yeah, well, it's a great story. And I think you're really putting where your money where your mouth is and the hustle is paying off, right? And so tell me a little bit. I want you to tell me something that Travis Smith wants to do that Travis hasn't done yet. And maybe beyond the business a little bit, maybe something that really is driving you to work as hard as you're working.
This one's a hard one for me because I feel like I've shared this. I think to do the impossible, which a lot of people would think that that's what I'm doing here when I say at the early stages of a multi-billion-dollar company, that fire, that certainty that I have only comes from a huge, super clear vision that I have. And so that vision is having 1 million people on my platform, on our platform. And when we've done that, we've impacted humanity. And so that's what drives me. At some point, I really am excited to also give back to my family. My family sacrificed a lot, as you mentioned, the 80-hour weeks, right? And
Mhm.
I couldn't do it without them, and they're so supportive. They know the work is important. They're a part of it, right? It's fun, but we've all sacrificed a lot, and getting to a certain threshold where I can take more time with the family is a big thing for me, and really getting back into investing, right? I love investing, and I haven't been as active in that as I would like. And so I could see me becoming a full-time investor, mentoring, maybe starting a group like yours. But those are things on the horizon for sure.
Nice. And I know that we were talking a lot about our kids right before we jumped on and how we teach them these lessons that maybe we didn't learn when we were growing up. because good enough was supposed to be good enough. And the first thing I always say is, well, there's this website that I use called TribeVest, and we can start a family tribe on there, and you kids can just put in like $5, right? If we can get up to the minimum, we can get you into one of these investments that's going to do better than anything else that they can invest in. And they're all super excited to start our family tribe. And so I think that not only has it changed the lives of many of my club members who've done their first joint venture commercial real estate deal ever, or they've
It's
grown into
awesome.
other areas. My kids are now talking about, like, when are we starting our family tribe? When are we starting our family tribe? So you're really able to impact a lot of people to level up in a way that I don't think we really believed we could. And you're making it easier to do.
Awesome. Well, I'll keep up the hard work then.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. So where do people get a hold of you? And I always ask every guest, why should people get a hold of you? Although I think that we've done a good job of telling the story of why, but what's the ideal kind of person that you would like to reach out to after the show?
Yeah, great question. TribeVest.com. And then best place to find me is LinkedIn. It's probably where I'm most active. I feel like I've not been super active lately, so it kind of comes and goes in waves. But that's definitely the best spot. Who should reach out to me? Anybody listening to this podcast is a great person to reach out to me on LinkedIn and just let me know that you heard me on Emma's show and Rise Capital here. So, and then I'd love to just connect with you. And then lastly, who else should reach out to me? We are working with the SPV fund. So if that's interesting to you, I would love for you to reach out, let me know. Also, a great way to help out there is ask your syndicators that you've built a relationship if they work with TribeVest.
Mm,
And do they offer the SPV Fund Tribe program? Because that's how we're going to market.
okay.
And if they haven't, give them my information. That would be a really awesome way to be a part of what we're doing and ultimately connect with me.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to trying out this new feature, hopefully on our next deal, and we'll educate some operators about it along the way. So, thank you so much for sharing your story, Travis, and sharing your passion for what you're doing. Like I said, helping the average Main Street investor, helping our kids. It's really inspiring. And thank you for all the hours and hours and hours. And thank your family too, because I have known enough founders to know that it's definitely a labor of love, and you put a lot into it to help other people, hopefully helping yourself, but it's you wouldn't put this much work into it if you weren't helping other people. So we definitely appreciate that.
Emma, thank you for having me on. Thanks for leaning in and all your awesome feedback. And again, the great work you're doing out there. Really happy to be a part of this interview and support you in any way we can. So thanks again, and appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. We'll have you back on once we do a couple more deals and check in every once in a while.
Sounds great.
All right. Have a good day, and we will talk to you
All
soon.
right, bye.
One of the reasons I love doing this show is talking to people who are so passionate about what they do, but they're also the kind of people who teach me something every time I talk to them. I learned more about Travis today and his mission, and I know that you did too, because he told us in a way that most of us can really relate to. A lot of us didn't start out from money, but we also didn't start out in a really bad place in our lives. Maybe we had a really great upbringing, but what we called great, we always wanted something greater. And sometimes putting your neck out and reaching out for that feels a little bit impossible. It feels a little bit greedy. And so I really learned a lot hearing Travis's journey and recognizing that the reason that we are driven to do the things that we are trying to reach for and building and growing in the ways that we want to grow is not necessarily because we want more for ourselves, and getting over that feeling that we're being greedy and understanding that we have something that we can put out in the world and having the confidence to believe that is valuable. That's what I really got out of this episode. But if you're new to TribeVest, be sure to check it out. It's really changed the face of our investing club. And if you would like to join us in our investments as we're growing with TribeVest, come and check us out at riseclubcapital.com. We meet every Monday night. It is for both accredited and unaccredited investors because we're a joint venture club where we're actually contributing skills and labor into our deals that we participate in. And I'm super excited to try out their new fundraising option because I think it's going to allow more people who maybe not are interested in the day-to-day asset management of a building to still be involved in commercial real estate and in more of a capital raising path. So check it out, see if our club is for you, see if TribeVest is for you, and we will see you on the next one. please reach out after the show. I'm really looking forward to hearing about your passive income adventure.